Welcome back to the SSIS training sessions. Okay, and in last session we discussed about SQL task, and we also discussed about breakpoints, and we also discussed about looping, blah blah blah, so many stuff. So we're gonna discuss a new thing today. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna disable the old one, just like I'm doing from first session, and let me auto size it or layout it to a diagram so that everything will be adjusted to one corner or one format so that I can make use of the remaining space. Now, let's start with something. We have discussed a little bit about ActiveX script component, script task, right? So let's see analysis services execute DDL task. What is this analysis services execute DDL task? What is analysis services? How many of you guys know about analysis or ever heard about analysis services? Just raise your hands who never heard about analysis services. So analysis services is nothing but the second tool in the Microsoft BA stack. If you see, we have integration services, analysis services, and reporting services. So the output of an analysis services is a cube. It's a cube and it's a database. Okay. So this DDL task means it executes data definition languages task of analysis services. Before going to that, let me show you a simple, let me create a very basic cube and let me show you how this analysis services task works. So for that I need a cube. Unfortunately, I reinstalled the software. This is a new computer as I told you, and hence I don't have analysis services database with me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly create one analysis services database. And people who have not listened to my sessions, analysis service sessions, don't get panicked. The next sessions will be on the same. So just follow what I'm doing and don't try to understand much in this class about analysis services. I think I opened it. I think it's going for the same one. So let me take the new project first. And here I'm taking analysis services. I'll name it as SSIS DDL example. And let me store in the desktop itself. Okay. As I told you, all these three tools will share the same framework. If you see the same framework, but a little difference in the structure or the objects that are available for each tool. So let me connect to AdventureWorks DW, and you don't worry about these credentials and all. I'll explain as part of the analysis services sessions. So click on next. I'll be creating a basic cube. Fact internet sales, click next, finish, and let me create a cube. Use the existing tables, fine. This is my measure group, fine, and these are the measures I want. Let's say sales amount, tax amount, and freight. And let's go with all the dimensions except fact internet sales and what is the invalid dimension here? Only this one. Okay. So I created a cube and everything done automatically it will create. So let me deploy it. I'm gonna process this solution. So that means what I've done till now is I've created a SSAS project. This is one SSAS project, a simple base level, basic SSAS project. So once it is created, we will deploy it to the server. That means we'll move it or we will make it available in the server. We will make it as a database so that people can query and get the data, just like SQL Server. Okay. Now I processed it. Process is successful. So let me show you where this one will go and sit. If you go to SQL Server Management Studio, you know how to connect to SQL Server, right? So in the same way, using the same SQL Server Management Studio, you can connect to analysis services, but by selecting the server type as analysis services. You have to provide the server name. I'll give localhost. I'm giving dot, that means localhost. And authentication mode in SSAS, it will be only Windows authentication. You will not have SQL Server authentication in analysis services. Actually, you don't need this right now. And if you see, it is deployed here. This is the database. And this is the cube, whatever I've created. And I can browse it and I can play with it. It helps me in querying the data faster. As I told you, it helps me, SSAS advantage is it helps in querying the data faster. You can see this is the freight amount, this is the sales amount, this is the tax amount, and this is the customer wise split up. It will split based on the customer, all the customers. Okay, something like this. It helps in creating. Now, what is meant by DDL task? DDL task means nothing but data definition language. Create, delete, or alter. You can alter anything, any object like cube. You can alter data source view, or you can alter data source, or you can alter dimensions. Okay, that is DDL task, data definition languages. How to execute that? How to make use of analysis services execute DDL task to create a new cube. Let's see that now. Okay, I'm taking the database SSIS, and if you go to here, scripts as create to new window. So what it will give me is, if I do like this, it will give me a create script in XMLA format. So this is XMLA format, and you can see it is create so and so, so and so. This is XMLA. XMLA means XML for analysis services. It will give me XMLA code. Now this database is already exists. So let me give it as 1 and 1. And if I execute it, it will execute and it will create a new database. It's created now. If I go to the databases and refresh, you can see example 1 is there. In the same way, I can go for example 2, example 3, example 4, and so on. Now, what I'm going to do here is how I can use, how I can make use of the analysis services XML scripts to, how I can make use of this execute DDL task to create a cube in my database. So for that you need analysis XML script. That's why I've created a cube. I have taken the XML script, and I'll show you once again how to take the XML script. Right click, new query, script query as. You can go for new or alter or delete. You can do whatever script you want. If you want to delete this cube, this is the delete script. If you want to alter this, you can go here, alter the script. So this will give you alter, and if you change some names, it will be changed, and whatever the name you are going to give, it will be changed accordingly. Now, where is the solution? This is the SSIS solution. Let me select this. And as I told you, all these tasks you will not use in every project. Whenever you have a requirement like analysis service cube needs to be created and then processed dynamically, then only you will make use of this task, or else why you need this. So I've dragged and dropped the analysis services, and if you go into this is name and description, the routine one. And in DDL, data definition languages, where you are going to specify what's going to happen when you execute this. So the first one is connection, where you want to process this, where you want to create this. Click on edit and see. This is the local host, fine. This is Windows integration, fine. And initial catalog, generally what you will do, you will select the database, existing database, right, to point. But here we are creating it. We are creating a new one, so just just don't select any initial catalog and click on OK. So the data source is set. And the second thing is source type. Are you gonna directly input it, or are you gonna use it through file, or are you gonna use it through variable? We discussed all these three options while discussing about the execute SQL task. So let me go for direct input for now. And here you have to give the direct input. Direct input means nothing but you have to provide the XML script. I've copied the same, whatever I have there. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the database name to 2. Why? Because 1 is already available. So if I click on OK, the script is taken and click on OK. Let me process it. Hopefully it will get successful. It's processing and it's successful. So let's go and see whether it is created or not. It is created. Now let me go to the script again and let me create a delete script. Let me take the delete script and let me paste the delete script and see whether it will delete it or not, whether it will delete the newly created one or not. So the existing one I'll delete, and I'll paste the new one. The code is pasted. Now let me execute the same. It is successful. That means this should be deleted here, and it is. So this is how you can make use of analysis service execute DDL task to see if you are part of any project where your SSIS has to talk a lot with the SQL Server analysis services. Then you can think about all the different combinations like delete, alter, how to alter and all. I showed you how to take alter also. You can go to the script, you can go to alter command and you can go to the command, and if you change any database, any dimension name from one to the another one, it will be changed. You will find dim time. You can give dim time as like this, and if you can execute this, error in metadata, the dimension ID, ship date, name of the ship date, reference to, oops, I have changed the wrong dimension and this should be changed in many places. So let me do one thing. Why? Because this dimension is referenced in many places. That's the problem. And if I explain also, you don't understand it. You will come to know when we discuss about SSAS concepts. Okay. I'll change something else. Let's say if you want to change any property like key column, name column. Oh God, there are so many. Let me take any one. Even if I change it now, again I have to open the solution to show the same. Let me select something. Or you can try here in your SSMS, and if it is successful, that means your query is correct, and you can make use of the same XMLA in your SSIS project. Okay, I'll do one thing. Control C, Control Home, Control F, Control V. Okay, where all I have this AdventureWorks DW, I will try to change it to AdventureWorks DW. So this is the problem. It will be referenced in many places, so that will create a mess. Here one reference, and let's see how many other references are there. Here one more. Here one more. How many are? So many are coming. There will be so many here, so that's the problem. The list is going. So you just try it out. Why? Because it is taking a lot of time. Okay, now I think it's completed. Let me execute it. Data source view of the time dimension does not correspond to the existing data source view in the database. I have somewhere it's missing. No, I'm not replacing that particular value, right? So I'm Control Home, or else I'll do one thing. I will take the alter path and I'll take only the simplest one which will be available at only one location, that is the database name. The database name will be only one place. It will not be referred in many places. So this is the database ID and this is the name. Let's try changing this one, whether it changes or not. From the object ID cannot be changed by alter statement. Okay, fine. Okay, now let me refresh these databases again. And you can see the name is changed to SSIS DDL without space example. So in the same way, if you are familiar with SSAS concepts, and I mean to say that all the objects that are available in SSAS, and if you know all the references, where all it will be referred and where all you need to change, then you can write an alter statement like this and you can paste it in your SSIS task and execute to replace the same. Replace the cube object names and get the, I mean to say that alter the SSAS database object names or any properties. Now let me take another task, the next one. Let me take analysis service processing task. So what is the use of analysis service processing task? So whenever you create a database, like using this script, whenever you create a database or whenever you create deploy a SSAS database to the server, you need to process it. Once you process, then only it will be available for accessing. If you don't process, then it will not be available. For example, if you see this is the cube I created, right? If I'm not wrong, I just created it, but I have not processed it. So you can see the cube cannot be browsed to verify that the cube has been deployed and processed. So if it is processed, then only it will be available for accessing. And if you see this is processed, this is the one first I processed using the BITS Business Intelligence Development Studio. That is why it is active and available. Now let me show you how to make use of this analysis service processing task. This task is mainly or only for processing purpose, processing of the cube objects or SSAS database objects. Now let me show you how to configure it. Here in this one also we will have very less number of properties. Let me show you the property settings. Here you have to specify where the cube or where the database is. So let me select. Okay. I have to select the database now, which database I'm gonna process. So what is the database I'm gonna process? I'm gonna process SSIS DDL space example 1, and here I have to add the objects. What objects I want to process. You can process mining models, you can process dimensions, and you can process cube, or you can process the whole database. Okay. If your dimensions are already processed, then you need to process only cube, means you can check this option. Or if you want to process the complete database, then you can process the complete database. I think Kranti will be understanding better than the remaining people. Why? Because she attended the sessions on SSAS 2. So here, if you want to process the complete database, the requirement will come like this. You need to process only dimensions, or you need to process only cube, or you need to process the whole database. So you have to select the right object. Once you select, you can set the options like default or full or unprocessed, and everything will be discussed when we talk about SSAS. Or if I have to cover everything now, then it will be a different. It will take 15 sessions to make you understand what all this stuff is. And these properties are the default properties, how it has to process, whether it is sequential or transaction mode, all in one transaction or not. If you want to change, you can change it to, you can change the settings in change settings option. You can make the processing in parallel, and all this stuff. I mean, these are not relevant at this point of time. Let me close this. Okay. And if I click on OK, I've set that. I've set the data source, and I've said what I need to process. This is the page, complete page. I'm telling the server to process SSIS DDL example 1. So if I click on OK, that's it. There will be nothing else to set for this analysis service processing task. If I click on execute, it will connect to the server and it will process. It will take time to process. So let's say it takes 10 seconds. Sometimes a cube will take 3 hours, 5 hours, or even 10 hours to process, even more than that. Okay, 10 to 14 hours. So now if you go and re-execute this, sorry, not this one. If you go and reconnect this, then this is processed now. That is why you are able to connect, you are able to see, right? This is the one, right, which was not in process state, SSIS DDL example 1. If I go and click on browse, it is opening this. That means it is processed. So this task is used, SSIS analysis services analysis services processing task is used to process analysis services databases, or in fact any object like dimensions or mining models or cubes or the whole database. So this is about this is two tasks which we have for analysis services, and we have one more task for mining structures. Right now I don't have mining structures, so let me take it in the later session. I'll create some mining structures to demonstrate the example. And before, the next task is bulk insert task. Before going to the bulk insert task, I would like to explain about expressions. So for that, let me disable this. So if you take any task, for example, let me take process task, execute process task. Okay. So this is execute process task. For any task, if you take, you have an expressions page. What is this expressions page meant for? What is the use of this? I'll show you what is the use of this particular expressions task. So I'll configure this particular task to open a notepad whenever I execute it. Okay, and if I execute this, when it hits that, when it executes, it opens the notepad, and when I close it, it will say it is completed. Now, what is the use of expressions? Expressions is really a powerful option provided by Microsoft in SSIS. If you want to set any values dynamically, let's say this is the process task and you have all these properties, and if you go to expressions, you have almost all the properties of the task here. Almost all the properties, not all I can guarantee, but almost all the properties. If you click here, you can see what are all the arguments. This one has arguments option, right? And delay validation is one of the property that you can set for this task. Description and disable. And disable is one of the property. What disable will do? Disable generally disable means it will disable the task, right? It will disable the task. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dynamically disable it. Okay. For that, I'm going to add one more task, that is execute SQL task. Try to understand what I'm doing here, and I'm connecting to AdventureWorks DW, and I'm giving a query call select count of staff from dim product. So I'm getting the count of records that are available in this particular table, and I'll set the result set as single row, and I'll set the result set as one integer 0, and I think count is an integer. Let me set it to count. So the count will be assigned to that one. Now I'm tagging this one. Okay, and once that is successful, it will get the count and it will assign to this. And here I am defining one more variable. Where is the variables page? Here I am defining one more variable. Test, I'll name it as, and I'll select Boolean value. Okay, false or true will be set here. Now I'm setting an expression for this. For this particular task, okay, or I'll set it as true. So the test value is true. That means here I'm going to the expressions page. I'm setting the disable property, and I'm assigning the variable test. Evaluate expression, it will give me true. Okay. Now what will happen is these two tasks will start trigger. When I trigger it, first this task will be executed and it will return the value number of rows that are present to the variable count. And here when it reaches this, it will execute the task. But after executing the task, what will happen is it will assign the property whatever I'm giving dynamically. These expressions, through expressions I'm assigning the property disable and I'm passing a value, dynamic value. So what will happen is it will disable the task. Let's see. So this got the value and you can see this is disabled now. If you don't believe, let me stop it and you can see this is disabled. So what I can do here is based on this value that I am getting as part of the output value, the count. If the count is greater than 606, then set it to true. I can set some value like this. This is my test, right? I can evaluate it as expression. And here in the expression, I can go for string functions or conditions. Let me search for if function so that I can have a condition. So this is how we can set the if condition. So this is the condition in brackets, like variable count is less than 600, then set it to true. If it is greater than 600, then set it to false. You don't know how many records you are gonna get, right? I know there are 606 records. So if it is greater than 600, if I set the expression like this now, what I'm setting is the user count. By default it will be 0 here. Okay, integer variable, the count it is 10. You can see it is 10. 10 is greater than 600. So if I evaluate it, it will be false. Why? Because it is not greater than 600. And in real time, when you execute this task, how many records you are gonna get for this particular execute SQL count and the user count variable? It will be 606. I know there are 606 products in the table. So it will be greater than 600 and hence it will become true, and hence the disable part will be true, right? If you don't believe, let me execute this. It's already disabled, so it will remain as is. So it's already disabled and hence it remain as is. If I change the expression back, let's say I'll change the expression back to greater than 600, less than 600. Okay, now it should return false, right? The count value will not be less than 600. It will be greater than 600. That is 606. So it should be returned to false, and you can see it is executing. Okay, this is how you can make use of the task. It executed and it will remain in the same old condition. And don't worry, don't think that there is no if condition. This is how you will write if condition in expressions. In bracket, you have to write the condition. After that, question mark means you are checking this if condition, this condition. If it is true, then you will write true part here. If it is false, you will write the false part here. Now let me interchange it again. Let me set it to greater than. It will be false now, but while executing, it will be true. So let me execute it. It will be same in the disable state. Why? Because it's evaluated to false. So if you see, this is one simple example. And it's a damn simple example. Can you go for can you think for a moment and can you explain where this will be more powerful? This particular option, this expressions option. So this particular task plays a major role. For example, if you see this is execute SQL where I've set the connection. If you go to the expressions, okay, there will be a property called connection string. Here you can see. You can change the connection to. So while development in dev environment, okay, it may be pointing to different database, but in prod it will be different database, and in SIT it will be different database. You can store all those values somewhere, and you can generate the string dynamically, and you can set it to the connection string. Okay, and SQL statement source. What is the source? If it is variable, you can change it variable, or what is the other options? File system, or what is the third one? Direct input. You can change that, and you can change the timeout option. You can change the name of it. You can change the result type. So you can set all these things dynamically, right? And maximum error count. You can set it. Is stored procedure or not? You can set it dynamically, and you can set the connection first of all. You can set some connection. Generally, here you have hard-coded it, right? If you see, it is hard-coded to some connection string, that is localhost adventure works. But you can do one thing. You can create a variable to which you will assign the database, server name, and all the connection string, and you can make use of the connection here. So in other words, you can make everything dynamic. Whatever the property it is exposing, you can make it dynamic using the expressions. And the same expressions you can find for variables also. If you see, this is the variable. Okay. If you go here, if you have to select it as evaluate as expression to true. That means then only it will go and look for the value here. Whatever the value you are going to give as part of the expression, it will be here. And one more example where you will be using these expressions is you will be using while creating the destination paths, source path, destination path, right? I'll show you one example. Let me disable these two guys. I'm taking for each loop container. Okay, and I'm gonna take file enumerator. Oops, sorry guys, I've taken for loop. Let me take for each loop. Every time I'm getting confused between for loop and for each loop. So let me take for each loop and let me go for the file enumerator. Now it will show. Here I'll select the folder. I think I have a folder called Piggy on my desktop. Let me select it. And not all files. Let me go for all the files. And here, instead of taking fully qualified name, I am taking only name and extension. Okay, I'm taking only name and extension. And variables, I will assign this one to file name variable, path variable. Okay. Now, if I loop through it, what it is gonna pop me up is, let me take a script task, and if I take the path as input here, and if I pop up the value, you will see what it is gonna retrieve me. What it is gonna return whenever it loops through each and every file. Let me create a message box. Message box dot show DTS variable. The one I have used is path, right? User variable path dot value dot toString. Okay. Now let me build it. And let me execute it. Oops, what is executing? I think something else is also enabled. Okay, if you see, I'm getting all the file names. Can you see file name and the extension are coming to me, right? Let me disable this guy. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna define one more variable and gonna make use of the expressions. Okay, or I'll take the same variable, the path, or where is the another variable? Let me define a string variable, full path. This will say, I'll set it as string. Okay, and the path I will give it as some desktop path I want to give. C colon let me get the desktop path here. I'm going to the properties to take the path of the desktop. That's it. So this is the desktop path. So let me copy the same here. So I have a variable with the path. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this full path, okay, this full path variable as expression. Here I'm going to take full path variable plus the path variable. So path variable will have file name as well as the extension, but full path variable will have the remaining stuff. If you see, it will become like this. Right now it is test, but while looping through, it will be some file name dot extension, right? So now let me execute it, and instead of this, I'll select full path to display in the pop-up messages. So can you see where is that full path here? New path, new path. Yeah, the problem is I have not set the scope properly. I've set the scope as the different one. That is the problem. What scope I have set for that? I think I have set the execute process. Yeah, see, execute process task scope I have set. I'll do one thing. I'll create one parameter again in quickly. Full path. I'll make it as integer, string, and I'll copy the same desktop path, and I'll go to the properties of this, and I'll make it as expression. Evaluate as expression to true. I think my focus is still on this. Okay, evaluate as expression to true, and I'll set the expression as the full plus path. So this is full plus path. So let me evaluate it. Yeah, it is coming perfectly fine. So now I'm gonna make use of this full variable in my script task. So this is the variable, and let me edit the package too. And I'll use full variable. Let me build it once before executing the package. It is successful. Click on OK, and now let me execute it. See, this is getting full path. So this is the path, this is the string value of that particular variable full, and this is the value that is coming from file, variable name file. So these two are concatenating and becoming as one string value using the expressions. In the same way, you can set the values for the connection strings also. If you see, this is your connection string, right? Here you can see this is your connection string, and if you go to this, here you will find option called expressions. So in these expressions, what all you can set is you can change the connection string. That means here you can see it is pointing to which connection string, and you can change it here. You can change the description, you can change the name of it, you can change the server name, you can change the username, and I'll show you one example here. So this is your default connection string, or the connection string that you have set. I'll copy it in Notepad so that you can see it clearly. Okay. Let me change the format. So this is the connection string, and what you can do is you can dynamically create a connection string here. What you have to do is you take a variable and get the connection string, and here go to the expressions, select the connection string and define the variable here, or make use of the existing variables and push it here. This will become your connection string. When you execute this, whenever it is accessing to this particular local AdventureWorks DW3 connection, the connection string will be changed from here to there, from this value to the new value, whatever you are assigning in the expressions. So this is how you can assign the values dynamically to the properties of the task, properties of the control flow task, and it really helps when you are configuring the things dynamically, like based on some condition you have to make the value change. Like as I showed you, if the value is so and so, then disable it, else enable it, and something like that, right? And also for connections you can change, and also for variables you can dynamically change. For example, if you want to move to a destination folder, which you will dynamically configure, like which you will be sending through variable. So you can create the path dynamically, or for source also you can create the path dynamically, and using couple of variables, and you can assign it to the file system task so that it will read the file from the new path whatever being assigned using the expressions option. Okay, let me show one more option, that is checkpoints. So the checkpoints are a very, very important one when you are executing the packages, or when you are debugging. Sometimes it's really helpful. So let me push everything on to one corner, and I'll take 4 new packages, 4 new tasks. So I'm going to take same task like execute process task. Why? Because my intention is to show the use of checkpoints. Let's say you have very big database tasks like inserting data into a table, okay? And all these 4 are the same. If 2 tables are inserted successfully and the third one is failed, then if you rerun the package, what will be the problem? Let's say you have 4 tasks which inserts the data into a database, into the 4 different database tables, and 2 are successful and the third one is failed. Then what you will do, you will fix the issue, whatever you have encountered in the third task, and you will rerun the package. When you rerun the package, what will be the problem? So the first 2 packages will get duplicates, right? The chances, a lot of chances. So the first 2 packages, if you have written the package in such a way that it will truncate and it will just insert the data, then the first 2 packages will rerun again. It will insert duplicate data, already inserted data, into the first 2 packages. Let me show you an example here. Here what I'm going to do is just a simple one. Why? Because here the concept is important, not the task that we are taking. So I have taken Notepad, notepad.exe and notepad.exe, and I'm gonna delete the fourth one. I need only 3, I don't need more. So connected to the first to second, and if I execute it now, what error? Some new error. It's the connection string problem here. I've given very odd connection string, right? So let me delete that guy. I think this is the one. Okay, let me execute it, and you can see the first notepad open, and then the second one, and then the third one. This is already open one. There are a couple of already open notepads, so let me close that thing too. Okay, now this is working fine. What the case if one of the tasks failed? Let's say I'm intentionally giving a wrong value here, not pad, which is not available. So it's not an exe file that is available. So if I execute it, 1 second guys, let me set one simple property. Okay, so if I execute it, the first one runs fine, but the second one is failed, right? What will happen if I rerun it? Will it start from the second one, or will it start from the first one? Are you sure that it will start from the second one? Sorry, first one. Let me try it. So I'm rerunning the package. So it is again starting from the first one. And if I rerun again it will start from the first one. So the problem here is the package will not start from the place where it has stopped. If you get data like this, if your package works like this, if your package executes like this, then the problem you're going to face is you will be getting a lot of duplicate data if you have not configured or if you have not created the package in a proper way. Let's say you have an execute SQL task, or in which you are inserting a record, one single record. Whenever you execute it, you are inserting one single record. So the first 3 tasks will insert the record, fourth one will fail. And once you fix the issue and reinsert it, what will happen? Or re-execute it, what will happen? Again, the first 3 or 4 will be inserting the data into the table. So that will lead to the duplicate data into the table. So the option for making the package to run from the place where it has stopped is checkpoints. So to configure the checkpoints, you have to set 4 different properties. The first 3 belong, you have to set at the package level, and the fourth one at container level. Okay, task level. I'll show you what are all the 4 properties that you need to set to make it run from the place where, from the task which it is, where it is failed. So first go to the package level properties. You can see this is the package level properties, and somewhere here you will find checkpoints. So here the first property is checkpoint file name. That means it will make a checkpoint like, okay, first one is successful or not successful. It will make a note in that file. And second one is successful or not, it is failed. Okay, it will make a note saying that second one is failed. I have to start from second one. So for that, it needs some file. So we have to specify some file. Let me set some file. Okay, and checkpoint usage when you want. There are 3 different options. So checkpoint usage never means whenever you run the package, it won't go and check. It will, every time it will rerun it. Every time it will start from the first one. So it should be either if exists or always. Okay. If exists means when the file is there, it will go check and continue from there. If the file is not there, then it will start from the scratch. Try to understand the difference. The first property, we are setting the file where the checkpoints. Checkpoint means, okay, whether it is done or not. So that kind of information will be stored. And the second one is how the checkpoint usage. Never means it will, this SSIS package, if I set it to never, and it will never search for any file which is given in this, for which the path is given here whenever you execute the package. That means it will run from first point always, first task always. So if you don't set this, it is useless. The setting this property is of no use. If you set the option as if exists, so then it will go and check whether the file exists in this path or not. If it is exists, then it will open it and it will see what is the task it is failed in the last execution. If it mentioned like it is the second task that is failed in the last execution, then it will start from the second task. And if the file doesn't exist, then that means, okay, last execution was successful, and hence it will start from the scratch, first task again. So that is the property if exists. And third one, always means it will always go and check. That means if the file is not there, then the task fails, saying that the file it's looking for is not exist. So you ask server to check for the file always, and you mention that file will be always available, but the file is not available. That means something went wrong. Okay, that is the property. And the third one is save checkpoints. Indicates whether the package has to save or not. Yes, if you have to set it to true. That means the checkpoints will be saved. So these three properties you have to set. Don't set it to always. If the file is not there, then it will fail. You have to set if exists. And the task level property is, if you go to the task level property, fail parent on failure. Sorry, fail package on failure. So if you set it to true, you have to set it to true. That means if this task fails, then that means it will fail the complete package. So that checkpoint file will be make a note. Okay, package failed at this particular point, right? If few cases will be there. If I set it to on failure, what will happen? If this fails, this continues, right? You know about precedence constraints. If this fails, this continues. But if that is the case, then it is very difficult for the checkpoint file to make a note where it failed and from where it has to start. Understood the point? If the precedence constraint is on failure, then if this guy fails, then it will go to the next task. So what checkpoint file can do then? Checkpoint file will get confused. This is the actual failed one, but still it continued. So that doesn't make sense of using checkpoint file. So that is why if the task fails, the package should get failed. That means that should be the end. So that is the meaning of this one. Now let me execute this guy. The first file opened and second thing failed, and you can see a file called test is created. And if you see test, it will have the first one cleared and second one it will make a note of it. What is the task that is failed? This is the one that is failed, and somewhere here the failure part will be stored in this one. Okay, now let me re-execute it. You can see from where it is starting now. Can you see? It is starting from the second one. Why? Because it is taking this file, checkpoint file as the reference. It will check, and somewhere it is maintained like it is the one which is failed, and it has to start from that particular point. So what people will do is they will come here and they will fix this issue, whatever the issue they have, it is available here. They will fix this issue, like they will convert it into notepad, correct file, and then they will go to the package and they will execute it. Okay. If I execute it, now it will start from the second package, and once it is successful, then if you can see this is second package successful and this is third package. The text file is still there. If I close this, you can see the text file is gone. That means the total package is completed successfully. So when I rerun it, it will go and check for the file. The file is not available, so it starts from first task. You understood? So now it is starting from the first one. So if it fails, the file will be created and it will be storing the information. Now let me execute it, re-execute it. You can see the file started created, right? The file created, and if it is totally successful, then it will go. If it is failed, that will be available, and for the next execution, it will give a hint that okay, the second one is the one that is failed. Start from the second one. So this is the concept behind the checkpoints, and this is very useful one while debugging or when you want to when you don't want to rerun the same task that was successful in the first attempt itself. Cool. That's about the checkpoints condition. Checkpoints option. Now I'm done with this task. Let me disable it. Next one, let me go to data profiling task. This is one beautiful option to check how your data is, whether the data is proper or not. Okay, there are different algorithms, I can say, or different constraints you can check. I'll explain 3 to 4, and after that you just try the remaining things as part of your practice. So the data profiling task is really helpful to check the quality of the data. Okay, if you are checking the quality of the data, then this is one of the best option. Now, the first thing is you need to set the connection, the destination connection, where you want to write the profiling, the quality result. The result will be pushed to some file, right? So you have to specify that where is the file. So let me take an XML file. I'll take a new XML file connection, create file, test.xml. Okay, you have to go for XML files, and I've created a new file and new file.xml, and I'll write override destination. That means whatever the data that is already available in the file will be overwritten. Now here you can see the quick profile option. So this is the guy which is gonna help in analyzing how the data is. So what data you are gonna analyze? This is gonna helpful only to point or pull data from SQL Server. It won't help for other databases or Flatfeds. Remember, that is very important point. So whenever you want to check the quality of the data that is available in the SQL Server database, you can make use of this data profiling task. It really helps in profiling stuff. Let me show you one simple example. I've connected to AdventureWorks. It asks me what table you want to see. I want to go for DIM account, or I'll go for DIM customer or DIM product, that well-known table to me. So there are different compute columns. See, I told you that there are different options. Let me explain you one by one. Let's start with the column length distribution profile. That means if you take a column, what is the length of the values that are available in that one? It will give you that length. Let me show you. Let me click on OK. I selected column length distribution profile. Click on OK. And what all columns you want to do. If it is star, that means all the columns, or else you can select whatever the column you want to say. I'll go for color column. Okay. I'm going for color. I'm going for only one column. Or let me go for color for now. And remaining properties, ignore leading spaces. That means if there is any space at the end you want to ignore. Yes, I want to ignore starting spaces, and ignore tiling spaces. If you want to ignore the end spaces, you are calculating the length of the column, right? If you want to ignore the end spaces, it doesn't matter. So I'm ignoring the end spaces. If I click on OK and execute this, the profiling task will create a profile and store the information into the XML file, whatever I have given in the path. Where is that file? I think this is the file, test.xml. Let me open with Notepad. Yes, this is the file, and you can see it has created a profile, and you can't understand what it means, what it is trying to tell. If you want to understand it properly, Microsoft Business Intelligence has provided a task called Data Profile Viewer. If you can see it somewhere here, let me know. Here it is, Data Profile Viewer. I've selected that. You will find it in Start, All Programs, Microsoft SQL Server, the version number. Under that you will find Integration Services folder. Under that you will find this Data Profile Viewer. You have to open the file, whatever the file to which you have exported the data. Okay, that is in my desktop. Let me go to the desktop, and the file name is test.xml. This one. So once I select it, it is showing this. Okay, this is the data server you connected to, and this is the database, and this is the table dim product, and in that you ask for column length distribution profile of the column color. Can you see the column color? The minimum length is 2, the maximum length is 12. The values minimum length. Okay, the 2 length values are 254, and that is 41.91%. So the 3 length values, let's say red is a 3 length character, right? 3 character color, right? So that kind of thing, there are 63, which is 10%. 4 color, that is blue, example is blue kind of thing, there are 29, and it is 4.78%. 5 color, that is like black, BLACK, it is 155, it is 25%. And 6 color and 12 color, there is something 12 color, what is that, yellow or something, silver or some color which is 12 characters in length. There are 7 values like that, and it is 1.1551%. So where it will be helpful is, let's say if you want to store some information into a column like state code. In US, the state codes will be only 2 characters, TN, TX, MN, MI, something like that. So if you select that column, and if you are getting 3 length character, 4 length character, 5 length character, what that mean? That means the data is wrong. Correct? So in validating such kind of information, you can make use of this column length distribution profile, which which is part of data profiling task, which helps you in easily identify whether it has any wrong data or invalid data or not. Now let me go back to the profiling task, and let me edit this, and let me create one more quick profile to the same. I'll go for product again. This time I'll go for column value distribution profile. Okay. So what this guy will do is, this guy will give the value. How many values are there? What are those different values and so on? Column value wise combination and percentages. If I refresh it, you can see the second one is also added, that is column value. If I click on that, what I've selected product, or what column I have selected? I missed it, sorry guys. Let me check it. Oops, I've selected all the columns. I've selected the star, that is why it is coming all the columns. You can see for value distribution, it is showing all the colors. By mistake, I have not, I can give all the columns, but if I select only one column, it will be better to explain, right? So let me take color again. You can see black color, there are 133. Blue color, 28. Gray, 1. Multi, 18. NA, 254. Red color, 63. Silver, 52. There were 13 character or 12 character color, right? That is silver or black, that is 7. White, 4. Yellow, 46. So using this, you can find out what is the most frequent one that is coming and whether it is a valid one or not. If you are getting any data which is used and which is not a valid record here, you can find it out easily using this one. And let's see one more example for the same data profiling task. Before going to that, let me go to this profile task value 1, right? I will remove this all. I'll select any one thing, like let me go for color. Okay, all means it will be little hectic. You will be getting lot of values, and so the next quick profile for which I'm gonna see here is let me select dim product again, null ratio. So this null ratio is to check what is the null percentage. This is the null ratio, right? Let me select a column which can get a null value. I don't see. I think this guy will have null values. Let's see. Let's try our luck. So it will give you the percentage of null values that are available in the particular column. This is null value distribution, and standard cost, it has 211 nulls, which is 34.8185%. This is beautiful, right? If there is any column which should not allow nulls, it should not have null values, then you can check it whether all the columns, you can list all those columns and you can see whether it is getting null value or not. If it is not getting null value, the data is clean and good. Else the data is not correct and they have to correct it. So in the same way, you can practice, you can try the remaining one, and I'll give you a hint about the remaining profiles. Like column statistics profile, this one will give you the statistics, like if it works for integer and date columns. Okay, if you provide an integer value, it will give you the minimum value, maximum value, mean, average value, and standard deviation value. If you give date value, it will give minimum and maximum. So that is column statistics. And column length, with this column pattern means how the pattern is going. Even I never tried this. 1 second. So this column pattern request, generally if you have some pattern like let's say you know US code, right? 212 hyphen number I'm talking about. Okay, you can set this kind of pattern. You can set this pattern in this box for this one, and you can check whether it is coming correctly or not. If you define only integer values, then it has to go for only integer values. Some pattern check. It will do some pattern check. If you select this only pattern, column pattern, it will provide you an option in the properties where you have to set the pattern that you have to go for. For example, here, somewhere here you have to set the pattern. So this is mainly for checking whether, for example, PIN code or telephone number or bank account number, you should not have any characters. You can have that kind of checks using the column pattern. And candidate key is for checking whether the key is perfect for whether the column is perfect to use as key. And functional dependency is whether a particular column is dependent on other columns or not. You can check all these kind of. So this particular task is mainly meant for data correctness, is to check the quality of the data. And you can try the remaining stuff, and if you have any queries, you can ask me anytime. So that's it for this session, and the time is up. I'll catch you in next session. Have a nice weekend, guys. Bye bye.